Hello, hello, hello. Hope you all enjoy. Chapter 13 Life on the Run. Jeff was on the run. He had shoved Derek and Ariel aside in a frenzied panic, aching to speak with fellow humans, and yet terrified of being discovered, though he didn't know why that mattered. The robot pursuit, driven by their horror of an apparent robot violating the first law, the fundamental rule of their existence, was much greater now than it had been before. It was a testimonial to the imperative of the first law that now, as he ran, every humanoid robot in the area dropped its duties to give chase, informed silently of his transgression by the comlinks of the two robots that had happened to witness his physical assault on the humans. Even the function robots began to impede him as he ran down the street, apparently ordered by the robots already in pursuit. Without postronic brains, the function robots could not make any advanced judgments of their own, but they could follow instructions. Little sweepers and couriers began zigzagging in front of him. Giant construction equipment, intelligent enough not to require drivers, blocked his path down other streets. Behind him, all manner of weirdly shaped devices had joined the growing number of humanoid robots chasing him down the street. "Come on, Geoffrey, come on, Geoffrey," he thought to himself as he ran, the rhythm of the phrase keeping time with his beating footsteps. He was even starting to breathe again, perhaps because the stress had caused a greater need for oxygen in his brain, even though his physical activity would not have caused that need. What a time to think about his physiology, he sneered at himself. Ahead of him, more robots of all kinds were shifting to cut off his escape. They almost had him. No! On the right, an open tunnel stop invited him. He angled for it on a collision course with a large, block-shaped function robot with a variety of flexible tentacles ending in tools. The function robot rolled to a stop, filling the entrance to the tunnel. Jeff grimaced, at least on the inside, and reflexively clenched his steel jaw as he collided with it. Jeff bounced away, but caught at one of the extended tentacles to maintain his footing. The impact had shoved the function robot back just enough for him to slide past one of its corners and run down the ramp. He nearly stumbled as the ramp started to move, and he ran, tripping his toes, into the nearest booth. This time he knew how to work the controls, and took off quickly into the dim light of the tunnel. He looked back once, and saw the crowd of humanoid robots pouring down the ramp and entering platform booths. The function robots had been eliminated from the chase, since the booths were designed for intelligent humanoid passengers. He faced forward again, now trying to blend in with the other robots riding in booths. He shifted to one of the mid-speed lanes and looked nonchalant. In a way, he was new at losing himself in the crowd, and yet, after being highly visible all his life, this was ridiculously easy. Some of the robots in pursuit came alongside, and others passed him, but they could not distinguish him between him and the others. He had no way of knowing if they were trying to reach him through their comlinks or not, but if so, they didn't seem to know who was answering and who was not. All the robots within sight were standing in roughly the same position, confined in booths the same way. When a couple of robots rode into the siding at the next tunnel stop, some of the pursuing robots followed them. Jeff realized then that the longer he remained riding the platform, the thinner his pursuit would become. So he stayed where he was, occasionally changing lanes as though he was traveling in a deliberate manner to a specific destination. It worked. He smiled to himself as he rode. 3 times now he had escaped robots that were chasing him. Nor had he outmuscled them, if you could use that term for robot arms. He had had to outsmart them, in the end, since they were physically as strong as he was, and if they ever really got hold of him, he would claim his rights as a human to consideration under the laws of robotics. They were no match for him. Only other humans had the same ultimate power of the robots that he did, based on the laws, but of course they'd be much weaker physically. He realized, for the first time, that he was actually the single most powerful individual on the entire planet. If he was careful, he could do anything here that he wanted. Of course, he had no idea of how the city was governed. Perhaps the robots had some kind of city council or something. It didn't matter, since they would have to obey him if he decided to reveal himself and give them orders. He had to make sure they couldn't catch him, though. He shook his head slightly, trying to remember why he didn't want to be caught. Nor could he figure out why he was afraid of the robots, if they had to obey his orders. It didn't make sense, but that was how he felt. Maybe those two humans could join him. Of course, they would have to undergo the same transplant surgery that he had. Then all three of them would be virtually invincible, not only against the robots, but against any other humans who might come to this planet. They might not like the idea, but it could be done without their agreement. After all, he hadn't had any chance to discuss the matter either. "Well, well," he said aloud, "a conspiracy, a takeover. So I do have something to accomplish here, after all." He had been carefully watching the robots traveling around him, and he knew that the ones pursuing him had all left the tunnel system by now. To increase his distance from them, he rode a little longer, then stopped at a siding chosen at random. Now that he was out of their sight, he didn't think they could pick him out again. Once back on the surface, he got on the slidewalk to ride until he got his bearings. With safety as close as any tunnel stop, he was free to roam. At the same time, he wanted to communicate with his human colleagues, if he could do so without having robots jump all over him. When he had picked out a few landmarks, principally a huge shining dome and a strange many-sided pyramid, he worked his way back toward the human residence. All the while he looked about carefully for any sign that the robots were conducting a search. He didn't see any evidence of a continuing search in the area, but he had to be careful. He was in the neighborhood, now, but still kept riding the slidewalk around in a series of jagged circuits, looking for a trap. His human colleagues, as he thought of them, were not in sight. The robot traffic here was light, and seemed to be safe enough. He started to look in the other direction, when a familiar shape caught his eye. When he glanced back, he saw that same robot pushing the wheeled handcart again. On impulse, he leaped off the slidewalk and walked briskly up behind the robot. "Are you following me?" he demanded. The robot stopped and turned around. "Are you addressing me?" "Yes. Identify yourself." "I am Alpha." Jeff hesitated. "Alpha? That's all?" "Yes. That doesn't sound like the other names in this place. Why are you different?" "I am not a native construct of this planet. Please identify yourself." "I'm Jeff. If you're a stranger here, then we have something in common. I thought you were following me around." "Not at all. Our proximity must be a coincidence. However, you may be able to aid me. Are you willing to join up with me? The two of us, we don't have any particular place in society. I'm gathering friends, you might say, followers. I have no objection to this." "Fair enough. What can I do for you?" Alpha pulled the cloth from the wheeled cart. A small, furry creature lay inside, its eyes closed and its pointed ears limp and flat. Clumps of brown and gold fur had been falling out, revealing leathery skin underneath it. "This is an intelligent non-human named Woolruff. She is starving. I came to this planet with her. However, food has been scarce. Can you find some?" "I'm not sure," said Jeff, looking at the little alien doubtfully. She had a canine body. "You ask anybody else? Any of the robots who live here?" "Yes. However, since I have determined that she is non-human, the laws do not apply and they are not required to help save her. The robots I have questioned here do not know where to find food for her, and I have no greater ability to locate any than I, so the responsibility remains mine." "I think you've met up with the right individual. Can you help? We've explored near a lake that I believe to be a reservoir and found a few plants that helped keep her alive, but that is all. I surmise that she requires a concentration of proteins they did not provide. It so happens that I smelled some food, human food, that is, in this very neighborhood. In a town like this it must have been prepared in some kind of auto gallery like they have on a ship. That would mean it could be altered to prepare other kinds of chemical food." "I smelled it also," said Alpha. "That is what brought me to this area. However, the winds come and go. I lost the scent for a short time, and when I recovered it, an altercation of some kind was taking place among robots. Since I have chosen to make Woolruff's safety a priority, I was forced to leave the immediate vicinity." "I see." Jeff chose not to offer any additional information about that particular altercation. "And since that time I have not been able to locate any odors of the same type." "Ah, well." Jeff paused, not sure how to proceed. He wanted to get this little doggy thing some food to win over his new friend. On the other hand, he did not want to be identified again. To stall for time, and to satisfy his curiosity, he nodded at the cart. "Where did you get that contraption?" "I constructed it from scrap materials on the edge of the city, where new urbanization is taking place." "Very clever. Well, This little cart impressed him. It was so simple. A robot who could do this kind of thing on his own resources, and who had no ties to Robot City, was definitely an asset. Jeff decided that he could not risk returning to the human residence, nor did he want to turn over his new friends to other humans who could give orders contradictory to his own, and perhaps even turn Alpha against him. He couldn't trust anybody, yet he had to find a solution. Another humanoid robot was walking toward them. Jeff chose, on the spot, to take a different kind of risk, one that would allow him to make a run for cover if necessary. "Halt and identify yourself," he said to the approaching robot. For what purpose, the robot halted, however. "I have instructions for you. I am Architectural Foreman 112. Identify yourself." "My name is Jeff." He sighed, and then fixed his gaze carefully on Architectural Foreman 112. "I am human." Beside him, Alpha looked up with new attention. "Perhaps you are malfunctioning. Your comlink might be more efficient." "I thought you said that you were human," said Foreman 112. "I am. My human brain was surgically implanted into a robot body. However, under the laws of robotics apply to me as human. You must obey my instructions. Understand?" Foreman 112 studied him. "I understand. I have just contacted the central computer, and I have been informed that this transplant took place into a body of your type, and that you have been reported in this neighborhood very recently. Good. Now, you are also an object of a search. The Human Experimental Medical Team urgently request your presence and cooperation." "Now you just forget about that. They don't have any right to capture me. I haven't done anything wrong." He eyed the robot suspiciously. "Did you tell them where I am?" "I have reported your location here at the request of the central computer." "Shut up and listen to my orders. Now look inside this thing. This cart holds a little creature that is dying of starvation. Its friend here is named Alpha. I am instructing you to build, or arrange the building of an auto gallery that can feed this. Her name is Woolruff," Alpha repeated. "She is an intelligent non-human." "Yeah, right." Foreman 112 looked at Woolruff. "Would the location of an existing chemical processor be acceptable? One is in storage. That would provide nutrition much faster." "That one's okay," Jeff said carefully, "but only that one, understand? Nobody else's. Got it?" "It is the only one I have knowledge of," said Architectural Foreman 112. "It should suffice in this emergency." "Good. Okay. You take Alpha and Woolruff to wherever it is. Alpha, can you explain what kind of food she needs?" "Yes." "Okay, I have to get out of here at the moment since this traitor has reported my location." He glared at Architectural Foreman 112. "I want to talk to you again, Alpha, but—" He couldn't tell Alpha where to meet him in front of this other robot who'd report him again. "Never mind where. I'll worry about that later. I'll give you this order. If I try to meet with you in secret someplace, you cooperate. Got it?" "Yes," said Alpha. "All right. On your way, you two." Jeff watched them just long enough to be satisfied that they were leaving together. He felt a sense of accomplishment on several grounds. Alpha now owed him a favor, and he had convinced Architectural Foreman 112 that he was a human for whom the laws applied. If he proceeded carefully, he really might take over Robot City. "Well, well, Jeffrey, so far so good. Maybe your life has a purpose after all. Know what I mean?" The last building block he needed in order to create a powerful following was the support of the other humans. He didn't dare visit them in person until he found out how they felt about him, but he could safely contact them from a distance. First, however, he had to get away from here. "All right, Geoffrey, back into the labyrinth again. They'll never find you in your second home." As before, he used the tunnel system to shake the chase. This time he departed before any pursuit came into view. The tunnel system, unless it was shut down completely, remained the perfect escape. The individual booths kept him isolated, and the tunnels had so many stops and branches that his chance of losing himself down there was very good. After a long ride, he came up again at a random spot and went to the edge of the nearest slidewalk. As he waited for a humanoid robot to ride the slidewalk his way, he seriously considered the possibility that the robots running the city might actually shut down his tunnel system. It wouldn't break the laws. This crazy city might have other places he could sleep in peace, and it almost certainly would offer other ways of escaping pursuit. He just hadn't had time to figure out what they were yet. Hey, where is everybody? What's going on? He glanced around, puzzled. Everywhere else in the city, humanoid robots had been more or less everywhere. He could see a few in the distance now, but none were coming past him. Ho ho, Geoffrey, old boy, time to get smart maybe, eh? Something isn't normal. No sense just standing out here to frost. Let's just take a little trip, visit the tunnel again, see the sights. Now, leery of a trap, he turned and fled back down the tunnel stop. Moments later he was shooting through the underground system again in one of the booths, looking at the robots and other booths all around him. What if they were part of the trap? Maybe he was being escorted, herded to wherever they wanted him to go. Calmly, calmly, he said aloud in the booth. Maybe they don't know anything for sure. Maybe they're just trying to smoke you out. Look like everyone else, remember? He started giggling to himself. That's it. Stay calm and look like all the others. He did so, secretly looking over the other robots traveling in the tunnels. None of them seemed to pay any attention to him. Shaken the pursuit again, have you? He said out loud. Very good, very good. This will work. This project will work. Now, let's get on with it. Still, some time passed again before he decided that he could safely return to the surface again. Then he picked another stop at random and re-emerged into the sunlight. Now he was once more in an area of the city with a fair amount of humanoid traffic on the slidewalk, as he'd been used to seeing. In the distance the tall pyramid glinted in the sunlight, giving him a reference point. He flagged down the first humanoid robot who came riding by and identified himself as human. Like the last robot he had approached this way, Energy Pack Maintenance Foreman 3928 verified his claim with the central computer. "I'm satisfied that you are Geoffrey Leong, a human," said E-Pack Foreman 3928. "Good. Then under the second law you know, as a Pawnestronic robot I am familiar with the laws of robotics." "All right," Jeff shouted. "Then get this. Don't ever interrupt me again, you understand, you slag heap?" "I understand," the robot said blandly. "You'd better. Come to think of it, that moniker of yours is too long. From now on you answer to Canhead, got it?" "Yes. What's your name?" "My name is Energy Pack Maintenance Foreman 3928. I will also answer to Canhead." "Well, good enough, I guess." Jeff laughed. "Now listen to this. I want to contact the two humans living here in Robot City. I've met them, and I think they're the only ones here. You use your comlink or whatever it is to get a hold of him. That's an order," he added, leaning close and staring into Canhead's eye slit. "I have just checked the central computer. I can go through it to a computer console in their dwelling. However, I lack the capacity to transmit your voice directly." "Yeah? You aren't lying to me, are you, Canhead?" "I lack that capacity as well." Maybe. You should. Unless things aren't as they seem around here. Nothing in this town is right if you ask me. Only, how can I trust you to pass on what I say? What if you play around a little with the content, or don't report what they say back to me just like they say it? What about that?" "I lack the capacity for deceit." "What do you need to transmit my voice directly? A microphone and some other equipment, I guess, huh?" "Yes. Let's go find some. You get in and arrange for me to contact them directly. Get going." And thus ends the 13th chapter. Have a good rest of the day.